Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with my special guest, Mr. Logan Halaby. Logan now works for Total Financial Solutions, and if the last name is familiar, of course, you'll know that he is my oldest son. Welcome to the show, Logan.
Why, thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I think we've had you on when you were much younger.
It's been quite some time. I think probably 3, 4, 5 years, minus a foot or two in height.
Yeah, time has changed just a little bit since we've now been on the air 12 years, guys. Thanks for being loyal listeners. The last 12 years, Total Financial Solutions has been bringing you tips and tricks and ways to get out of debt, manage money, and of course, plan for your retirement. And oh my goodness, have you not seen what's happening to a lot of folks' retirement across the board? Now, I think it's interesting to bring a person in their early 20s on the show with us so that you can have an understanding of what that next generation is. And listen, I think we have to be nice to this generation because they're the ones that will be working to put money in the stock market, because you're going to be selling shares. You understand that's how it works? When you say, hi, can I have money out of my retirement account? When you do that, you're going to be selling something. You're going to be selling shares so you can get the cash. Well, somebody has to be there to buy them. And when more and more people retire, they're taking money out of the market, which means they're selling the whatever shares or units or mutual funds they might have and turning them into dollars. So when there are less people on the other side buying and more people selling, you guys remember economics? Well, don't raise your hand because apparently 50% of the Democratic voters in Iowa don't seem to remember economics because they voted for a socialist. I want free health care. I want free college. Great, that's fine. But who do you think is going to pay for it? Well, I think you missed that type of that class in college. But in the normal days, when people go to work and they're trying to build their wealth and they do it slowly and they build it with their family, they seem to remember that. Now, Logan, across your travels, retirement may not be on the lips of everybody, but is there any conversation about the market and about what happens to the stock market and what's going on with people's success, wealth? I don't know.
In general, yes, but I haven't seen a whole lot of it from people who are my age or in my demographics, just because it's something that's far away. We have early concerns right now, whether it's school, getting the job, dealing with whatever comes along with that. So thinking about something that's for my age, 40, even longer years down the line, is back burner. It's not really our priority right now.
So is there any conversation about the stock market going up and down where your generation is looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, the market is up or down?
There's certainly some of that. It's very, we're not sure. Most of us don't have the experience of what the market's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Those of us who are my age, 10 years or so is what we remember. So it's 2006, 2008, 2009. There's all sorts of ups and downs that is normal to us, so we don't know what to expect.
Yeah, thinking of it that way, the crash that occurred in 2000 was pretty much a historic event in your life, meaning you guys certainly were born, but it was so uncommon to be aware of that in your 5, 6, 8, 9 years old. However, the crash of 2008, now that wasn't that long ago. That was 7, 8 years ago when that took place. And people even today will tell you that you will have an enormous amount of, fear, right? When things get panicky. And then that begins this decline. And of course, people are like, well, wait a second, I'm going to retire in 5 years. And if the market is down, I think today it's down, 200 points or something. And people look at that and say, well, what does that mean? And is that percentages? Does that matter if it's up or down? Well, it does if you own something that has value. So we want to talk about some safer retirement choices. With the market being down over 2% in one day, that can be scary. It can be scary for a lot of people, especially if you are planning to retire in the next 5 years, maybe even 10 years. So retirement, though, looks different. Your generation, Logan, is thinking retirement means what? When people say, I'm going to retire, or they think of their parents or their grandparents retiring, what does that look like?
Well, for some people, it looks like dealing with the burdens of healthcare and costs like that,
Yeah.
as well as the increases in the cost of living. We've seen food prices, gas prices, all of that skyrocket and then plunge, and it's been going back and forth. So a lot of uncertainty is what we're seeing. People who are on a much more fixed income, all of a sudden, they don't have the flexibility to deal with changes.
Yeah, and that's true. And you're seeing a lot of college planning, whether it's put on hold, people want to go back and earn a master's degree or go to PhD program, or just pay off their existing student loans or bachelor's, whatever it might be. That seems to be a fear that is significant when it comes to that generation. But that's my perception. Is that what you guys are feeling?
And you mentioned the college student loans that a lot of people have had to take out, or chose to take out in some cases. That's something that's you're stuck with. You can't cut down on going out to eat and food costs. Sure, go out to eat a little less, maybe stretch your budget a little bit, but you still have to make that same payment for student loans, and that's something you have to deal with, whether gas costs $1 a gallon or $5 a gallon.
You know, I think when you bring that up, that's a significant point, folks, because what we're thinking about is with gas and oil prices going up and down, what are you doing with those extra dollars? Are you using this time to pay off debt, which is what I would encourage, especially not low interest debt. We'll get to that later. But the higher interest debt, including some student loans and certainly credit cards. When you're taking on extra debt, when you're taking on that payment, the credit card company doesn't care how you feel on Monday. Oh, I'm not coming in on Monday. Oh, I don't feel like, staying late on Thursday or Friday. Well, that's mildly interesting to them. They don't really care. They're thinking, well, what are you going to do with the next phase of our payment? That's all they care about. It's due on the 1st, late on the 5th. You go to collections on the 15th. That's pretty much their thought process. So in your concept slogan, every day we go to work, every day we have a plan. Now you're fortunate to not have student loans. I don't think you really understand or appreciate that at this level. You might, but wait till you see how much further ahead when you're saying, oh, now I'm going to buy my first rental property, and other folks are still trying to figure out how to pay off their first student loan, let alone the 4th or their 8th one.
And that's something I'm very thankful for. And obviously, a lot of help through my parents, from teachers at school, but also took some extra time at College of the Canyons. I was there for, I think, 3 years instead of 2. Able to plan ahead and get stuff done that I know I would need later on. So that kind of thing helps, and certainly planning ahead, not just going to college and doing it because that's what everyone tells you you're supposed to do. Taking a little bit extra time, trying classes. I took a couple programming classes. Enjoyed it, did well, but I'm not a very good programmer. So I'm glad I figured that out at COC versus going to a 4-year college for that and dealing with the loans. And then a year in, oh no, what am I supposed to do, and changing everything.
Well, we've had some clients that have gone to some of these 4-year or 3-year or 2-year institutions that are the trade schools, or some of them that are out there with, specializing in medical billing or specializing in medical assistance or computer programming. And for many of these programs, you don't have a choice. You say, I'm going to do a 4-year program in computer programming, and it's $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000. That's it. After 2 semesters, you say, I'm not interested. You still have to pay for the entire program. And they will give you all sorts of reasons why that's a good idea, but I'm telling you, that's a crummy idea. If you don't like your particular field of study, by all means, get off the dead horse and try a different one. That's what community college is all about. You've heard us talk about community college all the time. As one of my favorite inventions here in the Santa Clarita Valley is this COC that you guys talk about, some of you. As you know, hey, it's the 13th grade, or it's, high school on steroids. Absolutely not. It's college level classes with, by and large, really good professors and folks that will take you through the time in your general ed, in my opinion, that I've seen with 2 children attending there. They have what it takes to get you prepared for the 4-year college. So you can decide, is this something you want to do or not do, in whatever the field of study is. That's where you practice at $50 or $250, not at $250 a unit or $1,000 a unit. That's just as ridiculous. So when we come back, I want to give you some of the foundations that we have found with building wealth, with this little bit of chaotic, right? Got a lot of things happening when you're younger. What do you do when you're planning for your future? And does retirement ever have to actually be age 65 or 59 and a half? And my goodness, lately I've heard so many different numbers. People say, I can't touch my retirement account until I'm 62 and a half. I'm like, okay, you're mixing apples and oranges there. So I want to break down some of those things, and so you can have a decision, you make a decision of what works for you, and give you some different timelines when we come back on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with my special guest, Logan Halaby. We'll be back right after this.